here is one from Michael. Hi, Trip. I had a weird summer where I was feeling unworthy and taking what I could get, he puts in quotes. I decided to take a break and search for material that spoke to me in terms of feeling wanted and how to increase attraction from the women I was attracted to. I was attracting women that I wasn't into, but because I was needy, I would put up with bad behavior or my boundaries being crossed because it was better than nothing. I did a lot of work with therapy and stumbled on your podcast and bought your book, Magnetic. I listened to old episodes and new ones and listened to your book on Audible. Recently, I've been getting better at calling out the bad behavior, and the attractiveness of my dates has improved. I'm seeing a slow change in myself, and I think it's good for my self-esteem and to feel that I'm worthy of a loving and sexy woman. Unfortunately, the dating process is, as you say, a numbers game. But that numbers game is starting to feel enjoyable for the first time. All this is the backstory to say, thank you for the work you do, man. You are helping people in a big way. I was refreshed to find a male dating coach that is not a chauvinist, but calls things as they are. Once more, thank you, Michael. Okay, that's not a question, but thank you. I know that my assistant Joe likes to sneak these in, and I appreciate that he did. So what can we learn from this? Well, I'll say a few things right now. What we can learn from this is that you need to have the right standards. And you should not be taking crap from women and be treated in a way that is going to allow you to be a pushover. And let me say that two things will come out of that. One, you will end up being more attractive to her. And two, you're going to end up being with the woman that you're actually looking for. So Michael, that's awesome. You're the man. And thanks for letting me know. Thanks for writing in. All right, this one is from Nathan. Hey Trip, my name is Nathan and I've been a listener for a while now. I have a question for you. I live in Georgia now and I grew up in Arizona. Since I'm not from around here, most of my friends are from work. And here's the problem. All the guys I work with are married and don't really go out very often anymore. So when I go out hoping to meet women, I'm usually by myself. Whenever I'm at a bar, I feel like that loner creep that's looking around the bar for girls to hit on. I usually end up realizing that I'm the only person that is there by themselves and then leaving. What do I do to get past this? How do I make it look like I'm not there alone trying to pick up chicks? Nathan, great question. And I think it's a great question because I had the exact same experience. I remember too, very clearly, it's like a movie in my head, like I've seen over and over. The time that I went out alone for the very first time. I remember exactly what the bar looked like, the layout, and I'll do my best to explain. The bar was basically, it was like a dance club / bar. I wouldn't call it like a heavy, intense club, but much room for dancing. And the bar was in the back. It wasn't that big of a place. And so I get in there, I'm completely sober, and it's just super scary to be there, sober and trying to talk to women and not having anyone to talk to except for, well, people that you might talk to and have to approach or be the bartender. So I go all the way to the back. I go to the bar because where else am I going to stand? I get a glass of water because at this time I was not drinking alcohol so I can learn how to properly meet women. And I just remember leaning against the bar and feeling that exact same uncomfortableness. 5 minutes go by, 10 minutes go by, 15 minutes go by. I haven't talked to a single person. And of course, the anxiety just keeps creeping and creeping and creeping. And it was just absolutely terrible. So I almost left. And then I said, wait, hold on. I can't leave. Why? Because I know that I want to learn this. I know that I'm not going to give up on this. So if I leave now, I'll eventually have to be in this exact same position again. So why don't I just take advantage of it now? This is me just trying to use as much logic as possible to argue for why I should not leave that place, even though it was really scary. So I remember the first thing I did was there was a couple girls next to me and I just started a conversation asking them something about what they were drinking. It wasn't really important, but just starting that conversation, just really super small talk. And while that helped, it wasn't the best conversation. So it was still a little bit nerve-wracking. And then I was like, you know what? let me go outside. There was a patio. Let me just get a little bit of a new environment here. So I go to the patio, and within about 30 seconds, I just started talking to the first women that I was in front of. Started a conversation with them. Now juices were flowing, starting to feel some more of that social power because I got some of these warm-ups out of the way. And then this is where it gets a little blurry, as much as I remember exactly what the bar looked like. Somewhere within the hour, I ended up in conversation with a girl that I actually ended up taking home that night. And this is something that, again, would never have happened if I didn't go out alone and push myself. So you're asking, Nathan, how do you get past this? Learn from what I did. First of all, understand this. You think people are looking at you. They're actually not looking at you. Now, I don't want to say this to you to make an excuse not to be talking to people, but at least to comfort you a little bit. When you go to a bar, the only time you're really going to be looking at people is if you're probably alone. Think about that for a second. If you're with friends, which most people are, okay, they might scan the room a little bit, but they're not going to be like, whoa, that guy's just been sitting there. He's not talking to anybody. They don't give a shit. They're in their own little world, doing their own little thing. It does not matter to them. The only person who would be witnessing this, again, would be a guy like you who's so intent. But even that person like you, you're not looking at one person, staring at them. You're looking at everybody. So bottom line is no one is really paying attention to you. Now, to your next question. How do you make it look like you're not there alone trying to pick up chicks? The answer that no one wants to hear, you got to start talking to girls. When you go into the bar or the social event or wherever you're at, you need to have conversations immediately. You don't wait on this. And I learned this too, because that was one of my first times going out alone. But as I went out alone or with people, it doesn't even matter. Anxiety will build. Imagine this for a second. Let's imagine a glass, okay? And imagine I'm about to pour water in the glass, and the water represents your anxiety level. If you go into a place where you want to talk to strangers, what's going to happen is your anxiety level is going to rise. So as long as you take to go and approach someone, imagine you're pouring that glass of water and it keeps going up and up and up and up. The anxiety keeps going up and up and up and up. And the second that you start talking to someone, imagine you take that glass of water and you spill a little bit out. Every time you talk to someone, your anxiety is going to go down a little bit. You want to keep that glass empty. This is one of the only times you're ever going to hear that you want the glass empty. But in this analogy, you do. You don't want any water in that glass. Water represents anxiety, and it gets filled and filled and filled as long as you are not talking to anybody. So what happens is, because your glass is getting filled with anxiety, you need to go into the place and you need to start conversations with anyone as fast as you can. Even if you mess up, even if you don't know what to say, just have a can opener to go in and start talking to people. Even if it's the bartender, even if it's a guy, a group of dudes, whoever, it needs to happen as fast as possible. And then guess what? The person at the bar who's talking to people will never look like they're going there to pick up chicks. Now, I get a lot of guys who say, well, what if you're talking to the women and then they say to you, we're your friends? It's very simple. And I've used this line way too many times, which is great. And it worked out every single time I used it. Girl asks where your friends are. You just say, you know what? I came out alone tonight. I just wanted to get out of the house. I've never had a problem with that, because at that point that she's asking you that, you guys are already in enough conversation where she knows that you're a cool guy. Very rarely do you go up to a girl and in 2 seconds she goes, we're your friends, right? That's not happening. So when you go up there and you're talking to her, and I would say that's an indicator of interest. If a girl's going, well, where are your friends at? She's showing enough care and attention to you that she even is asking that. So all you got to do is say, I just came out alone tonight, and then switch topics. Nobody cares. She doesn't care. This is actually probably a more attractive thing to her because it shows that you're not afraid, that you can just go out and have a good time. So you can't lose by saying that. So Nathan, great question. And I know that it might be tough when your friends are married or they're just too shy to go out, but you can do it. Listen to those mindsets.